Hey, hello everyone, and welcome back to Brick Rigs. Today we're here in the flat grass, as it were, the grid map, and I'll be showing off a vehicle which I have just finished. I built it all in one go, start to finish, and it's this. It is my version of the NASA Lunar Rover, because I have been reading the Haynes manual on the Lunar Rover in celebrations of 50 years of the moon landings. And I wanted to build a Lunar Rover as it is in real life, as it were, except it's in brick rig, so it's made out of Lego. It's a total of 116 pieces. And the best thing about this, the real rover weighs 463 pounds. My rover weighs 463 pounds. I have got it to the exact pound weight of the actual Lunar Rover. So this thing in brick rigs weighs exactly the same as this thing does in real life in Earth gravity. And it's also got all of the same features as you have got on the real life Lunar Rover. You've got the dish right here for telecommunications, which is what the dish bit here is meant to be. You've got the camera for transmitting images back to Earth, you know, on TV and back to mission control on its little camera and stalk bit here. These bits are meant to be gold, but gold is too heavy. As you can see, these are made out of plastic, which is 1 gram per centimeter. What is that? CCM? Centimeter, I'm just going to call it. Whereas gold is 19.3 grams. So, yeah. Currently it weighs 463. I turn the camera into actual gold. It goes up to 688. It pretty much adds a third of the rover's weight just in gold to the machine. So that was out. So I had to build this as best as I could out of the lightest weighing material there is and still make it look good. So yeah, so you've got this bit here which is meant to be the gold. You've of course got the mud guards, or the fenders as the Americans would call it. And something that I found funny when I started reading the thing on the rover is that at one point one of the astronauts accidentally broke one of the front mud guards and they repaired it with duct tape. Which I just thought was perfect. Duct tape is used even on the moon. So yeah, there's that. You've of course got the 2 seats for the astronauts. You've got the central, because it's not left or right-handed drive. It is in fact middle drive, so either astronaut could drive the rover. And yeah, so that's what this is meant to be. Oh no, this is still foam, and if I turn that to plastic, it's going to increase the weight. No, that'll have to stay foam then. Look weird. So yeah, there's that. And then so you've got the main box there, and then coming to the back you've got various equipment stowage and things. You've got just a mast here of some sort, and then you've also got a stowage bin on the back which had, I don't know, scientific equipment of some description in, and also another bag which also probably had scientific equipment, plus the all-important duct tape. And as for the rover's wheels, these are built from scratch. These wheels. I did originally have these things on here, off-road wheels, because I thought, well, why not? I was originally going to have these drag wheels because they look the most like lunar wheels, rover wheels rather, if you sort of squint and imagine. But yeah, those weigh far too much for me to actually put on here. Not only that, this thing doesn't actually have an engine. I was going to use the electric motor here as an engine and have it strung to the underneath, sort of trying to hide it in the seat and across here. But even on the lowest gear ratio setting, it still went at about 19 miles an hour, which is far quicker than the actual rover went. The actual rover was limited to 6 miles an hour. which is about 10 kilometers. Yeah, 10 kilometers an hour it was limited to, because they feared that it would sort of act like a dune buggy and just sort of bounce everywhere on the low atmosphere of the moon, or the low gravity of the moon rather. So yeah, they limited it to 6.2 miles an hour, which is 10 kilometers per hour. So this thing also is limited to 6 miles an hour, aka 10 kilometers per hour. So it weighs exactly the same, and it also goes as fast as the real thing. Also the steering, I believe it was dual steering, so the front wheels turn whilst also the right wheels turn, a bit like a Halo Warthog, or indeed a real-life German Puma from World War II, which had dual mode steering, so all of the wheels turn in order to help it move, and I believe that's what the Rover had, because in a couple of pictures I saw both wheel sets turn in the opposite directions in order to increase the turning circle, and also to stop it from sinking into the ground, because they wanted the wheels to follow in the same tracks as the tyre, so that they're not digging themselves down into a hole. Or was it the other way around? I can't remember. But yeah, as for the wheels were basically wire mesh type things, which had some chevron grip pads all the way around each wheel, and they were basically made up of wire mesh strung to a central hubcap. And so that's what this is. You've got the main central hubcap here made out of foam, which is the lightest in density material available to us, other than nothing actually. It is the lightest weighing material here, which is what I have used for most of the Rover here. Even carbon fibre weighs more than plastic, so yeah, carbon fibre's out of the question. But yeah, so that's that, and then as for the actual wire mesh type things, I've just used black glass scalable cylinders, which are 2 wide and 3 in radius, or 3 in diameter rather. So yeah, so 3x3x2 brick basically, which is just sort of stuck in there onto these actuators, which, because this is basically the drivetrain, and without this you ain't going nowhere, I've made all of this out of the very heavy aluminium, which is not as heavy as steel, which most people would just use on vehicles, but of course doing this as a scale model, this is very heavy. And so I had to think very carefully about what I wanted made out of aluminium. So yeah, we've got that there. As for most of the other stuff, there's a few things just to make it look nicer that are made out of plastic. For example, the dish, because this is a scalable brick. If I change this scalable brick to foam, yeah, I don't really want it to look like that, even though it does save me on some mass. I wanted it to look rather nicer, so yeah, that's plastic. Mudguards are plastic because they're quite big things and they don't look very good on foam, and these things, to make them look a bit more like gold, those are also made out of plastic, as well as a couple of other major things, such as the control area right there, and also this rear piece here to make it stick out from the other bits of foam, which are the 2 stowage boxes at the back. So yeah, to make the stowage boxes stand out better, these 2 pieces are made out of plastic. And that is about that. Also, there's this bit made out of plastic, and the same on the other end, just to give it a little bit of nicer look. And then you've got some of these. I don't know what these things are. They're sort of like grip pieces, but yeah, they're sort of there. And so yeah, let's take this out. As you can see, no engine noise, of course, powered by electricity is what it would have been. And yeah, as we head forwards, you can hear the motors whirring, as it were, which are just the actuators right under there. So yeah, they're taking us at 6 miles per hour, the same as the astronauts would be on the moon. As for the steering, this is the steering. It doesn't work very well due to the fact that, well, any other type of steering other than the conventional steering that they give us, i.e. axles and wheels, doesn't work very well, especially not in this close proximity to the actual vehicle body. But you can turn the Rover. It's not very, it's rather bouncy, but ignoring that, you can drive this thing if you just, there you go. So if it does wobble as you turn like that, all you have to do is just stop the Rover, and then you can go. And then doing some fancy manoeuvring will help you turn the Rover. I did want better mobility for this thing, if I'm honest, but hey, this works fair enough. As for views, you've of course got the front camera, and you have got first-person mode, which, huzzah, we're now in a rover. So yeah, just imagine that we're on the moon right now. As you can see, we're bouncing, and we're not bouncing quite as much when I stop and keep going forwards. So as for other features of this rover, you have got a couple of things that you can do. See if we can't get over the train tracks in this rover, shall we? As we make our slow way over to the train tracks, let's see if these homemade wheels can get over the train tracks. Probably the actual rover wheels would, but as for this stuff, yes, yes, come on, grip, glass wheels, nearly, and we're over, yes, there we go, we cleared our hurdle on the moon with, oh dear, and we are missing one of our wheels somewhere. There it is. One of the wheels has come off. I'm sure that'll fix on with some duct tape. But yeah, ignoring that, as for other things that you can do, you can change the angle of the radar dish. Oh, not with that. With that, so if you press Alt and you use the steering, you can adjust the angle of the radar dish. As for the camera, you can also adjust the angle of the camera by pressing Alt and using the mouse left and right. So it's got a 60-degree angle either side, so that was the limit for it there, and this is the limit for it over this side. So you do have good panoramic features that you can have with even a little bit of dish to add authenticity to the rover. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the rover. Homemade wheels, I don't think anyone's done a rover like this with homemade wheels before. And they're not the best wheels, but they are the most realistic, you could say. Because, yeah, the actual rover wheels aren't fully... aren't full rubber, as it were, so they're not going to be fully opaque. They are going to be partly opaque. If you're wondering what these bits are under here, the grey bits right there, where it says actuate, that was meant to be suspension to try and get the ride to be a little bit nicer, but it ended up just sort of bending the wheels inwards, and it didn't drive pretty much. So yeah, that's the story with those. Instead they just look rather nice. Of course it's not an exact replica. It had funny suspension which sort of linked the two bits and this and that and the other, but in terms of a brick rig scale model, I think it's come out rather well. And you know, it could be worse. So yeah, that is the Lunar Rover. Don't think I missed out anything. I'll probably do another model which isn't to scale, so it won't have the same weight restrictions, or the same speed restrictions. I might not. But yeah, but for now, this is a Lunar Rover, to scale in both speed, and also in weight. So yeah, I'm quite impressed with that. So yes, I'll thank you all for watching, and goodbye.